Well, I'm going to start off, and first I want to thank everybody that's here, both the panelists and the guests, and I see that we're up to 30 right now. Is that correct, Lisa?
Correct.
And for those of you that may not know me, I'm Mayor Bob Fiala, and with us tonight are Council Clerk Lisa Novak, Council President Bob Carr, Ward 3 Councilman John Tomaselli, Ward 2 Councilman Ken Carey, Ward 5 Councilman Dan Anderson, and Ward 4 Ward 6 Councilman Dan Geary. And that's correct, right, Dan? Just double checking. And our Councilwoman at Large, Katie McNeil. So I want to thank all the council people for being here tonight. This has been a really challenging year for community engagement, obviously because of COVID, and we actually had this scheduled a while back and couldn't do it just because of the pandemic. But we've got, Willoughby has become quite a popular place to be, both in terms of businesses, and Tom Theoman, our Economic Development Director, will share with you some of those projects in a bit. But as importantly, we are also a highly desirable place to live. And a recent market study indicates that there's quite a lot of market for new housing in Willoughby. So we wanted to just have this meeting tonight to explain some of the projects that are currently being reviewed or projects that we expect to be reviewed shortly. And we will have, we've broken it down into 3 parts, the discussion I'm having right now, and also just a little bit of discussion about our zoning ordinances and the process. But then what we'd like you to do is you will see eventually an email address for the city. We'd like to try as best as we can to have a stop at 8:30. We will have time at the end of this agenda to have questions and answers. So we're asking that you hold your questions until then. Any questions that we cannot answer or don't get to, please email at the address you'll see in a while, and we'll respond promptly for them. So first, I'd just like to, at the next slide, Tom, just talk a little bit about the process that we have. Tom, can you advance one, please?
Yeah, I'm trying. It all worked 2 seconds ago. There, okay.
Okay, so here you'll see, jot this down. This is an easy email address to remember. It's just info@willoughbyohio.com. Any questions that go unanswered or you seem like we weren't answered fully, reach out to us at that address. We also urge you to make sure the best and most reliable source for information on meetings is the city's webpage. So please go there. If there are meetings that are important to you, just go there. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to call. Next slide, Tom. Now I want to chat a little bit about the process here. And this is really important. I think sometimes there may be confusion as to what Willoughby does permit and what Willoughby does not permit. Essentially, our zoning is divided into 3 major categories. Industrial properties, and those you'll probably know from about Hammond Parkway along Euclid Avenue, all the way to almost the Willoughby border on Euclid, and on the north, along Lost Nation Road, Airport Parkway, Western Parkway, those streets. To the far right, we have commercial properties, and we most know those. They're shopping centers. It's the Lowe's Center, it's the BJ Center, it's the strip centers that we see. Most of the projects that we're going to review tonight have to do with their residential. And as you see these 3 large categories, all of the property within the city is zoned into these 3 categories, which means if you own property that's zoned for industrial, you have the right to develop it as industrial, and the same for residential, and the same for commercial. For residential, there are essentially 3 kinds of product types that are out there. The first are single family. That is far and away our most dominant residential type in the city. To the far right, you'll see mobile homes. They're technically called industrialized units, but the ones that we're going to be speaking about this evening are multifamily units. And there's 3 types of multifamily the city permits: apartments, townhomes, and condominiums. Multifamily is a housing type that is permitted in zoning areas by right, meaning people that own property that are zoned multifamily have the legal right to build that way. to build it as multifamily. So Tom, if you could advance to the next slide. And this kind of is a snapshot of how things are reviewed and approved within the city. An applicant submits an application to our building department, our chief building official, and that triggers a sequence of events. The first is that if the project of any sort, and this could be industrial or commercial or multifamily, they would either go directly to Planning Commission, except for if they need a variance of some sort, meaning a setback variance or a height variance, they go to our Board of Zoning Appeals. And if they're located in our historic downtown business district, they have to go to our Design Review Board. In any event, they end up eventually at Planning Commission. And Planning Commission is a 5-board member, and includes one of our councilmen. And they will review, and they also work with the administrative reports that come from the city's administration. And those include police, fire, city engineer, myself, in some cases, Tom Thielman, among others. The Planning Commission deliberates on the application. They will act to approve, reject, or amend and approve. And eventually it goes to City Council, where the final approvals happen. So that, in a snapshot, is how things are reviewed through the city. All of the meetings I discussed, Board of Zoning Appeals, Design Review Board, Planning Commission, City Council, all of those are on our website. We have the minutes from prior meetings there, as well as the agenda for the meetings that are coming up. So with that, what we'd like to do, I wanted to create this framework and this background so that we can discuss specific projects. And I'm going to ask John Tomaselli, Councilman for Ward 3, to kind of kick it off with the Maroos team to talk about the Riverwalk project. And then we'll jump right from there to Councilman Anderson and the downtown 2nd Street project. So John and Maroos, Mike and Chip, if you, maybe John, if you want to lead things off.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. My goal here isn't to steal some of the thunder from Mike and Chip, who are graciously attending this evening. But I did want to talk a little bit about the project. We're all familiar with Riverwalk in Phase 1 and Riverwalk in Phase 2. This is the property that sits in between those two and has been vacant for some time, as Maroos was able to figure out a use for it. So it is zoned multifamily. So the use of the land is appropriate, as the mayor had just discussed. It will require some time at the Board of Zoning Appeals for a conditional use on the height of the building. But being that it would be consistent with the other properties that are there, I don't feel that the height of the buildings would be an issue. The aesthetics, if you look at those Riverwalk Phase 1 and Phase 2, they're different from an outward appearance. Phase 3 would resemble Riverwalk Phase 2 more closely. So it will have the building. Phase 2 is the building to the east, if you're not familiar, the one that's closer to Kirtland Road. But the aesthetics of it, and Mike and Chip will show you some visuals of what that looks like. But the Planning Commission also has a say and can recommend different materials for that building. We want to make sure that it's consistent with the buildings that are near. We also want to make sure that it enhances our downtown area as well. Some of that process is informally started already. I know there's been some discussion around landscape plans and green spaces. So in an informal way, we like to be able to help Maroos Construction make sure they're making the right decisions. The other thing that I know is of issue to some of our residents is an increase in traffic on Menor Avenue. Today, there's one ingress and egress for Riverwalk Phase 1, and there's another for Phase 2. Phase 3 will bring one that will be directly across from the entrance to Andrews Osborne. But what Maroos has also decided to do is to run a egress along the railroad tracks in the back of the building. So they've actually gone ahead and purchased property on Pelton Road that would allow a road to follow behind all of the buildings and exit on egress to help alleviate some of the traffic issues on Menor Avenue. Finally, the majority of the units in Riverwalk Phase 3 are single bedroom or studio apartments. Now, the rent price per square foot will remain similar to what we see with Riverwalk in Phase 2. And, you know, there's been some studies that the mayor has put together with some third parties that prove that those rent per square foot is warranted for downtown Willoughby and the Willoughby area. And I believe it actually creates a nice upward mobility and housing options for our residents as individuals come in and they work with a single bedroom or a studio apartment and move to maybe a different building within Riverwalk or a different building within Willoughby. But what we do is we really get a nice cross section of residents coming into the Willoughby market. So that's my 2 cents. I will be open for questions after this, or you can email me or the info at willoughbyohio.com. I'd be happy to speak with anybody. But at this point, I'd like Mike and Chip to give maybe a better introduction of what we're looking at.
All right, John, thank you. Chip Maroos Development. Just to give you a little history on this property, maybe we should back up a little bit. We bought this land back in 2005. Original plan was a mixed-use development with retail, about 125,000 square feet, about 60,000 square foot of office, and about 275 apartments. We were ready to kick that off right in 2008. Had a lot of money invested for that project, had some tenants secured, and unfortunately the market crashed in 2008, 2009. So we kind of stopped that project, and thank God we did. And at the time we sat on the property to figure out what we're going to do next. We always felt that the apartment market was a strong market. So we went to Plan B and we put some apartments there. We had an office. We were really kind of intended to bring our headquarters there. And then we had an assisted living going in there. That was kind of the second opportunity we had for development. On assisted living, they couldn't get financing due to the fact that the tracks wouldn't let them get financing. So that fell through. And then we kept on going back to apartments, and then we decided to go with a Phase 1 of this development project. And that was Riverwalk Phase 1. Put up 199 units. And at that time, we put about 70% one bedrooms and about 30 to 35% two bedrooms. Built it, it rented right up. As we went ahead and we still wanted to bring our headquarters there, we went with a Phase 2, and then we put some more apartments there, and that was Phase 2 with about 66 units. They rented right up. As we saw that market at that time, the demand was definitely for more one bedrooms than two bedrooms. And at that time too, let alone 2 years ago, we still wanted to bring our headquarters down there, but we felt that our headquarters and our operation for the construction company needed a warehouse, and we didn't want to split it up. And that's the reason why we moved over to the car dealership and went ahead and built that. And it really comes down to this too, is that we felt putting more apartments there really helped the whole community as a whole for that project to be a Phase 3 of apartments. We do a lot of apartments all over the country. We do them for other developers, and we develop our own apartments. And we really looked at the market, and there's been a trend for like the last 5 to 8 years, especially the last couple of years, suburban wise and urban wise, is there one bedrooms are a big demand. We used to build apartments down in the flats in the warehouse district, and it used to be always 70 to 80% two bedrooms and about 20% one bedrooms. That is totally flipped now, and there's a lot of projects that are getting built. We have a project under Maroos Brothers over there behind Ohio City. It's 98% one bedrooms and only 2% two bedrooms. The market really shows that people want to live by themselves. It doesn't mean it's a cheaper unit. Matter of fact, you actually get more per square foot on a one bedroom. On Phase 3, these will go from anywhere from $1,200 for a one bedroom all the way up to about $1,900 for a two bedroom. So that's what the market we saw, and our market study proves that out. And so we'd like to show you then kind of a little bit of the project. So if you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to give a little history of the whole project because, you know, it's been 15 years. And it's tough as a developer to sit on land. And like I said before, that phase one. We had about $1.2 million wrapped up in entitlements and drawings and everything else like that. So this is phase three. It's a U-shaped building. It's in line with actually the back buildings of phase one and in line with phase three. And the pool area and the courtyard area is in the rear of the building facing north. It's going to have a pool. This building will have a lot of amenities. It's about $1 million worth of amenities strictly for the public areas. That's the community center, the pool, and the outdoor area. First floor is basically all amenities, and then some units on the first floor, and then the second, third, and fourth floor. And as you can see, like John mentioned, you can't really see it very well on this, but as you can see, the main entrance is right across and lines up with Andrews, and then the back entrance, you can see it going off to the east. And that will come out in Pelton.
And what's also unique about the site that you can't get a perspective today when you drive by is that we will actually be cutting the site down about 6 feet. Therefore, when you're at the road level on Menor Avenue, it'll read as a 3-story building. It's hard to see that today because we have a lot of dirt we need to move, but the actual height of the building will look as a 3-story building.
And if you go to the next slide. And this is just a perspective of what it's going to look like. We're going in front of planning Thursday. We've had one meeting with planning, so we've tweaked these drawings a little bit. There's some brick, there's some hardy panel, and some white trim throughout the building. This is actually the facade looking, you're looking at this corner, looking west. And you can see in the background phase one there in the back corner. Other than that, I think that's what we have for Riverwalk Phase 3.
And just a couple interesting stats, you know, when you look at Chagrin Riverwalk and the impact it's had with the community, we've done a study and survey on our residents, and 87% of our residents currently at Chagrin Riverwalk were not originally from Willoughby. That means that if you're building quality new product in the city, people are coming there and living. Out of that 87%, 16%, which is this astounding stat, are out from outside of the state of Ohio. So Willoughby is on the map and people are moving here and they're enjoying the amenities. The other real interesting is you look at medium household income. Willoughby's roughly in the 58,000 range. All our unit dwellers within Chagrin Riverwalk average 85,000 per unit. So our average median income is over 30,000 more per unit than they are in the rest of the city. So we're attracting a great professional that makes good money, that are enjoying the amenities of the city. It's been a wonderful stat for the community.
As you can see in the summer too, and even in the winter, but you see a lot of people going across the bridge, walking from Riverwalk to the downtown and using the restaurants and you know, spending their money. So we feel really good about that too. The other thing too, the other stat too, is that we do have the highest rents in Lake County by far. So it's something that we looked at, and the big risk that we took on, that the rents in Lake County, and there was no new product for many years. And when we built this, when you build new, you have to drive higher rents in order to afford building this. So we put that on the market, and we were very pleasantly surprised that we got the rents that we needed to make this project work. And we still are, and we're at sitting always about 95 to 96% on the vacancy. So occupancy. So we have very low vacancy here, which is really good. And you're always going to have a little vacancy because there's people always moving out and moving in. Typically, you see in apartment dwellings 1 year to 2 years max, and we're averaging over 2 years stay on our apartments too, which is nice. The people are staying there.
Cool.
Anything else, Mike?
Tom,
Thanks,
is that the last slide for Riverwalk Phase 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So Chip, Mike, stick around. John, thank you. Can we move to the Second Street project, Tom, and maybe Dan and Chip and Michael continue on?
Thanks, Bob. Actually, before I hand this right back over to Mike and Chip to discuss, I did want to briefly remind people that the project is on the corner of Second Street and Clark. And what that does is if they were to go to our website and look up the zoning map, I've had a couple people call and ask if they're allowed to put apartments in. And I just wanted to reiterate that if you look at the zoning map, it would actually be the downtown business, but it'll also be that subset or sub-district E, which allows for residential. It's something that's been in there, but recently we changed it to only have a 35-foot height limit. So I did want to, at least before I handed it right back to Mike and Chip to discuss, just wanted people to hear that. So that's not one of the first things off of their questions. So Mike, Chip, if you want to take it over and talk about this beautiful place that you guys are proposing.
Sure. Thanks. Just for me, this was, we've been developing for last almost 40 years. 1983, we moved into downtown Willoughby. This was the first piece of real estate that we ever bought, myself and my brother. So this is kind of a little near and dear to our heart. 75% of our holdings are in Willoughby. So we have a lot of real estate. We hold on to our real estate. So this one here for us, our construction company was here for many years. And then our development company actually just moved out of here recently. And we stayed in Willoughby. We moved over on Stevens Boulevard for the development company. So this is a pretty exciting project for me personally, because I kind of want to leave a legacy in where we started our business. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so when you look at the site, I think everyone's familiar with the Clark and Second intersection. We currently have a sign that says Merce Development Group at the corner. One of the things with the site, it's mostly a parking lot currently today. We have roughly around 35 spots there. The existing building, as my father said, was our office building really the last 20 or so years between the development company or the construction company. So yeah, it's a very unique and dear project. I spent half of my childhood there also. So and part of my professional career. So I've never got away from there, but a very unique site. We have roughly about 0.6 acres of where the building sits with the parking lot, and the back parking lot area is about 275 acres. If you actually go to the next slide, Tom. So the building's going to sit on the site. It's 35 units. It's a 3-level building. So as we talked about with Riverwalk, where the zoning code allows a variance to go to 4 stories, we thought that, keeping the building compatible with the surrounding buildings in the downtown area, we didn't go for that variance. Even though density is always key in the real estate world, we wanted to keep it in flow with the existing buildings around. The code allows us to have 1 space per unit. So we match the code. You have 35 units with 35 parking spaces. We tried to take the feedback from DRB and planning and got as much green space as possible within a downtown district. And that's where you see the layered in green space. One thing visually you'll see is a 20-foot setback. That's that corner line. That's actually by code. You probably don't recognize it because a lot of the buildings aren't at the current code, but we had to follow the 25-foot setback. So that's why if some people wonder why we set the building back off the corner, that's actually a city code that we are following. And so that's what that setback is there. We've had multiple talks with Ken and the arts group about potential art for downtown, buildings and making that corner maybe pop out, because it could be a great pedestrian area. But looking at the building overall, and if you could go to the next one, Tom. We just felt that we're able to take some modern finishes and feel, but take from the existing brick patterns and scale of the existing buildings around. And really, we took a lot of the feedback from planning to heart. A couple of comments were, we want this building to be here for, 60 more years and always feel like it should have been there and never looked like it just got popped in there. And what did we do, guys? And we really took that to heart, and we studied the surrounding buildings, and we really feel that this mixture of brick and the two tones with some of the modern, panels that look like sandstone really took from the buildings that are in the historic district. And it does feel, Tom, if you jump back one more slide, it really feels like it's always been there. I mean, even from an aerial perspective, it just looks like it's always meant to be there, and we're really excited about it. The unit mix overall is all one bedrooms. We have a range of around 500 square foot to about 800. The price point's going to be in the 1,000 to 1,400 a month range, and we have about 15 apartments downtown currently now. Of course, you can't ever get to them to rent because they're always filled, and that's in range with what those price points are going for. But we just thought, what a great way to bring a walkable downtown apartment building to Willoughby.
Thanks, Chip and Mike again, and Dan. We're gonna, Tom, if you could advance one slide. So we just talked about two projects that are before our boards, commissions, and will be eventually before our city council. And again, after we're done running through a few additional projects, we'll open it up for any questions. But Tom Thielman's going to kind of walk us through some other projects that we see on the horizon. And we just wanted to alert everybody as soon as we knew a little bit about them. So you could, just check again to our website. And if you're interested in them, attend our Planning Commission, BZA, DRB, City Council meetings. So Tom, if you want to walk us through some of the other projects in the city.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Tom Thielman. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Willoughby. For those of you that may not know me, but we're going to start off with a project that was just recently approved. And when we first started putting the community meeting together, this wasn't approved at the time. But with COVID and the cancellation of the in-person meeting, and then getting this Zoom meeting together or whatever we were able to do, this has been approved through the Planning Commission. And this is the standard on Lakeshore Boulevard. This is a development by Pro-Built Homes. The project represents basically a multi-million-dollar investment on Lakeshore. It's the area directly south of Osborne Park, right next to the Memorial Garden Cemetery there in Willoughby. It consists of 27 townhomes, plotted and to be built as fee simple townhomes. There will be 9 buildings and approximately 3.5 acres on 3.5 acres of land. The buildings, as you can see, only cover about 37% of the land, with 63% remaining open. The grounds will feature some plenty of green space, walking and exercise trail, a pavilion with outdoor grilling stations, benches, and a dog park. So these are kind of the amenities a lot of people are seeking when they purchase a townhome. The townhomes will be about 1,200 square foot in size. And one of the unique aspects of the project, and kind of a bone of contention amongst the residents around there, is that yes, these are going to be built initially as rentals in order to get the financing. But the city is entering a memorandum of understanding with the developer regarding how the sale of them will take place over time. There are going to be deed restrictions in place, not allowing for future owners to own more than one, or not allowing anybody to sublet these. So we're putting a lot of things into place. They're being plotted out as single family, and that's what we expect to occur there. But in order to get financing to build them all at once, you have to kind of designate them as rentals up front. The zoning is currently called Lakeshore Gateway District, which allows for mixed use. It allows for general business. It allows for residential uses. So this project was approved by the Planning Commission. And I do have This is a slide of a rendering of what they initially showed. There was some pushback by Planning Commission regarding some of the design aspects. So they have come back with some updated possibilities of more of some reverse gables with more stonework. So this is kind of a, more of a marine look. And then here we got a little more traditional townhouse. So that's what's on the horizon there for the standard on Lakeshore. Another big project going on in the city, to give everybody update, is the Marks development. This is a development by USA Management. Retail in particular, mid-major big box retailers like a Marks store is a real good indicator of a community's overall economic health. Basically, it increases our attractiveness as an entry location for other small businesses. While a lot of people have angst with big box stores, if you look to our neighboring communities that don't have any, and their difficultness in trying to attract businesses, when you don't have the big box there, it's hard to get small business here too. So when a small business owner is looking for a place to locate, they certainly take note when Marks is locating in your community, when Target is here, when Lowe's is here, when TJ Maxx is here. So they have confidence in this market. Marks has confidence in our market, and they're making a significant investment here. Marks has been looking for a site in Willoughby for years, and USA Management was able to put together a redevelopment of the Fitworks. They added 14,000 square feet to this building, so it's about 45,000 in total, one of the largest Marks in northeastern Ohio. And this project is coming in, well over $4 million in total. In addition, a portion of the out parcel in front of it was demolished to make way for more parking. So this is exciting news for the city of Willoughby. And here's a rendering of what it will look like. Very modern in style, and should be opened, I think, possibly before the end of the year. Another big news is the former Denny's site. Denny's been located on this 1.3 acre parcel at the corner of Som Center and Euclid Avenue since 1977. It's hard to believe that it's been that long, 43 years. Not by how I feel or the fact that most of us have visited this for a late night snack at some time in their life, but probably by the looks of the building itself. The Denny's concept has become a little bit tired and old, and certainly our building and our community has seen better days. Also, COVID-19 had a direct impact on their business. And as I talked earlier, the attractiveness of a community for retail is important. And this site was not on the market long and was snatched up by a developer. And the super popular Swenson's restaurant is going to be located at this site. If you haven't eaten at a Swenson's, well, you're in for a treat. It's basically based on the old-fashioned car hop service model. And basically, Swenson provides the same type of customer service that everybody's getting used to at Chick-fil-A. So they do it with a burger. Chick-fil-A does it with a chicken sandwich. So look for this in the summer of 2021, opening here in Willoughby, and another multi-million-dollar investment in the community. Another one is the Maroos brothers. Chip and Mike spoke about their headquarters and the desire of consolidating their operations, their warehouse structure, warehousing, their mill shop, and their corporate headquarters all into one building, something that they wouldn't have been able to do at the site across from Andrews Osborne. But here at the Crewan site, basically they were able to purchase this entire site for over $1 million, the Crewan Pontiac and the Forenza Stone property, and they've transformed it into, we'll say for my purpose, $9.5 million corporate campus, but I have a feeling they've spent a lot more than that. It includes a new 34,000 square foot, 2-story office building. Basically, this 5.4 acre site provides enough area for future expansion and becomes basically a key stakeholder in the future of the Vine Street corridor. Many of you may not know, but the city of Willoughby has partnered with cities of Eastlake, Willowick, and Lake Tran, our community transit company, in conducting a planning study along with NOACA on how to improve the Vine Street corridor, one that stretches cohesively from the lakefront to downtown Willoughby. So the Marous brothers now, their headquarters building is certainly a key component as you enter the Willoughby community along Vine Street. And it's just, I should be flipping sides while I'm talking. Here's a rendering of the outside of the building. We got some fancy shots of the inside. Super high-end finishes throughout on the exterior. If you've noticed, the landscaping has come together outstanding. The weather was super cooperative this fall. Could have worked out better. And I think Chip mentioned he wants to be in his office very soon. And so he will probably, there'll be a light on there very late at night with him working. So what this represents is not just an investment to Vine Street, but investment to the people that work for the Marous Company and the type of residents we're trying to attract to our community. Young, upwardly mobile, highly educated workforce. And we had a meeting earlier today with owners of a company, and they called out this building immediately and said, you know, this feels like a European construction, you know, headquarters building. You know, this is so cool for Willoughby. So, and we were pleased to hear that in, you know, in our efforts to try to attract them to our community. Next up is a little update on the Memorial Junior High renovation. We have then designed architects coming into this building. This is the former junior high at River and Center Streets. These are some older photos from a few months ago. I got some updated ones. See the concrete work going in. This is a multi-million, $5+ million project, which is a historic preservation project and a business retention project to some degree. They're currently located in downtown Willoughby, and they'll be moving over to this site. And they have, I think, 60+ employees, a nice payroll. And this basically cements them in our community from years to come. What a neat project to have an architecture firm inside a historic building such as this and reinvent the interior for wide open spaces and offices. So you can see some of the construction going on, the beautiful millwork that's taking place along with the existing brickwork. So that's just a really neat project that's going forward. Another thing on the drawing board, but no official plans yet to the city, is 60 acres up next to St. John's Bluff. This is off of 84. This is Andrew Osborne owned land, a possible proposed housing development. Basically, it is currently zone R100, which the whole area is there. And basically, it is zone residential. It has a conservation overlay on it too, which allows some special considerations when you preserve some land. So there is the thought of, on this proposal, to preserve about 20 acres of green space. And then they're basically showing a similar layout or a similar type development as St. John's Bluff. As I said, nothing has come to Planning Commission or to the city yet, but this is just some conceptual drawings that were shared with us, and that's on the horizon. Also, the city of Willoughby's Willoughby Eastlake School Systems have sold off a lot of properties throughout their system, and a couple were in the city of Willoughby. And this one is at the corner of Route 84 and Shanklin. It's 7.5 acres. Once again, it's zone R100. It was recently sold. Basically, as is, you could probably fit 11 homes in there. If they want to change the zoning, well, they have to come to Planning Commission and get council's approval for that to put anything higher density. So That is on the Horizon 2, and that was purchased by 20th Century Construction. Another piece of property that was purchased from the Willoughby East Lake School System portfolio was the Browning Elementary School. This is 2.6 acres with a 30,000 square foot, 2-story former elementary school that the city used for some time as a senior center. Planning Commission, this is a R60 zoning. But the way it works is under the current code, Planning Commission has the right to approve a variety of uses for this elementary school building, including, assuming they consider that its historic importance is that it be preserved. So we had a social service agency in there, a senior center that could relocate there of some sort, not the senior center, but another social service agency could use that building. Or it could be used for possibly loft-style residential development. And the excess land could be developed as single-family homes. So no plans have been submitted to the city, but this is certainly a possibility on the horizon. David Knott, a local developer, purchased that. Besides this, I mean, we've had some rezonings along Somme Center Road, for another townhouse project, 50 townhomes right on the west side of Somme near the Jehovah Witness building. Also, the Milstein property was rezoned for, I can't remember, 47 or 37 new homes. And we had the $2 million sheets built at the Eaton Park. So basically, it's a very, very busy office right now. And our building department is very busy reviewing plans. So that's all I got, Bob.
Thanks, Tom. Again, you'll see the email address for any questions. And we just, thanks to everybody, we really managed this time really well. So we've got 45 minutes to take questions and answer any questions and take and answer questions. As they come in, we'll just maybe ask the interested participants to respond. And for the proposed projects, Tom and I can help respond. So, Elisa, are you managing the?
I got control of it right now.
Okay.
So Chad Gurley has a question. Should we go to him?
Yep.
Let's try this. Whoop. Who's got his hand raised? Anybody? Well, somebody that's called, oh boy, my list is hopping around like crazy. Let's see.
Mine
why
is
don't you-
too, Tom.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to go to the first one, which is just by the name of user?
User, sure. Allowed to
Okay.
talk, user. There we go.
Okay.
Hi, user. Can you state your name and your address prior to addressing?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Debbie Bordenero on Shanklin Road.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. And of course, I have an interest in the school property that was sold. I live right next door to the empty lot. And I've talked with Dave Anderson before about this, so he knows some of the concerns I have. When they go to start getting this project together, cutting the street in and putting sewers in, I have concerns about runoff into my property. I have concerns about what's going to happen to my trees, that I see there is a stake right on the property line that runs into my property, all kinds of little things like that. Should I just follow along on these upcoming meetings to see what kind of planning takes place, or how do I get to know what kind of is going on, that
Sure.
things that may affect me?
Right. Well, initially, yeah, I would contact our building department and kind of not necessarily put them on notice, but at least tell them who you are, where you live, and what concerns you have about future development. And then if there is a request for any type of zoning change there, you are going to be notified regarding that ahead of time, because you'll have the opportunity to speak at all those meetings. So, Mayor,
In
you have any-
regard to a zoning change, is there a possibility it may not be residential homes?
Tom, I can jump in there.
Yeah.
I think the developer, we have had no indication it would be anything but residential homes. There may be a rezoning to increase density, to change from R100 to something else, but nothing's been submitted. We have heard nothing.
So is this developer the, what is it, 20th Century Construction? Are
Correct.
they mainly a residential home builder, or do they get into commercial and other things?
Very little commercial. They actually did where my second house was, over at Polo Park, was 20th Century's development many years ago. They're primarily developers right now in home
20th
building.
Century Summers Group? Dave?
20th, Tom Reeby's organization. It's 21st century. Yeah. They're developers and home builders, and they worked before.
Okay, so they're not at the point yet of going to be putting the street in and doing all that kind of stuff. They're not,
No.
that hasn't even been.
No.
Nope.
Okay, I'll just follow along and see what comes up. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Greg Pat, can you hear me?
Greg, you're on mute.
That'll do it. You think I know this by now. Greg Pat, 38005 Brown Avenue in Willoughby. I want to start out with a great compliment to Maru's in the change that you did on the 2nd Street design from the original design to what you have now is 1,000% better. It really looks great. And your cooperation with public art is really appreciated there. The only concern I have, and I'm not sure of the solution, because you're following the letter of the law in terms of parking, the downtown business, for the number of units you have, that's how many parking spaces you have. And certainly that's the requirements of the law. But my concern is, are there other options you could consider? Because that parking lot you're going to be using for the apartments are now being used for other areas downtown, stores and Parker Place apartments across the street and whatever. And to think even a 1-bedroom would be a single person. Now your demographics say you might get single people buying in those or renting in those units. It's likely that they might have 2 cars. So that becomes a downtown congestion problem. They can't park on the street overnight. I can see spillover to other areas and other problems. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and you know, you can maybe work towards that as you work towards it, as you start. The second one is the Riverwalk Phase 3. I know that you're lowering the spot for the parking, but visually you have such a cool looking building, which, as a side note, if it were me, I would get rid of those patios too, like you did on the 2nd Street ones. I think patios are just room for grills and junk and whatever. And if you could get the design of the 2nd Street into the Riverwalk, I would think about that. But my biggest concern is the parking in front, the vast expanse of parking. I don't want it to look like a strip mall store, and with large parking in front. Now, probably your reasoning for having it in the back is, you know, for access to the back. But if it were possible to move it forward, rather than have it at the back of the property and put the parking in the back, that would be a big step. If not, a significant landscaping that hides the parking, whatever you can do to do that are the suggestions I have on those 2. And again, I appreciate the input. This has been a great presentation, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a Brent. Brent, can you state your name and where you live?
Brent Warner, 39385 King Edward Court, Willoughby. I just want to know if there's any movement on the Saab Motors piece of property that's over there that's just becoming more and more of an eyesore.
Which, the
Stoddard?
Stoddard?
Yeah, Stoddard
Yeah, that-
Porsche.
We have, Brent, we'd love to talk about it. There's something pending right now, and we're very excited about it. But we really, we can't divulge at this moment, but I think you're going to be very happy. I think we're going to see another remarkable, ultimately, another remarkable transformation of an auto dealership. You know, Marus has got their headquarters building. That's a former auto dealership. You know, Forensic Stone will eventually be redone. And Process Technologies was a former auto dealership as well. So I think we have the 4th auto dealership renovation on the way to Willoughby. So we're pleased about it, but we just can't talk about it just yet.
The beauty of it, it's on the fast track though. So you'll know
Yeah.
sooner than later, probably before the end of the year, that the deal will be made and then the transformation will start.
Okay. The other question I had was, you know, I noticed, you know, they talked about putting an assisted living behind Lycan. Is that still in the process or?
That's another Milstein parcel that has some difficult, it's a difficult parcel to get to because you have to travel through, you know, it's got split zoning and I don't know. There's been, since my time here, I've been here at City of Willoughby about 3 years, and we've gotten probably 3 or 4 proposals that have all fallen flat. So right now there is nothing proposed there. John, do you have anything?
No, no, not that I know of.
All right. And then the last one is the Union High School. Is there anything going with that or that's still kind of flat?
It kind of fell apart as you and I talked, Brent. We had
Yeah.
interested, but he kind of abandoned us. So we're still trying to work something out. As you and I talked, that's really an important parcel. And
Yeah.
we could see that get something happen with that.
So, yeah, I really appreciate this open forum. It really, you know, shed a lot of information on a lot of projects out there. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Any other hands? Greg Pat. Greg, do you have another question?
And you're on mute again, Greg.
Geez, I thought I did it. I'm sorry. Bob mentioned Forensic Stone. I just wondered what the Marusas, if they want to tell us, if not, I understand too. Would that be an out property or what are your plans for that building? Take it down or what do you think?
A little bit too early to say, but we have a few ideas that we want to do there.
Okay,
We
good.
definitely get redeveloped.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, Greg, we're actually working on the actual lot split. It's at planning coming up this Thursday. And that'll allow us to start kind of moving in the direction to look at potential tenants.
Okay, great.
Michael Ross, how are you?
Good, Tom. How you doing, sir?
Real good. What's your question?
Hey, just quick question. So I got a little held up on appointment. I see this is being recorded. Is this going to be available for a rewatch here?
Yes,
Yes,
it
we're gonna
is.
post it on our
We're gonna
website.
post it on the website.
Beautiful. That's all I got, gentlemen. Thanks as always.
Good hearing from you, Mike.
Anybody else out there? We have 41, well, we're dropping down. Some people have left. But I think
Brian
we're up
Katz,
to,
Tom?
pardon?
Brian Katz, I think, has his hand up, Tom.
Yep. Brian, you're available to
There we
talk.
go. I'm just wondering if there's been any movement on the old Steak and Shake property at all.
Well, a couple of the hot commodities in town have always been the possibility of Swenson's coming. And the other possibility is the Raising Cane's chicken place, right?
Mhm.
So they're both looking at sites. Well, Swenson's landed on one. So Raising Cane is still a possibility there. We know people came out from Raising Cane's to look at it. They've talked to our building department about it, but nothing official. I mean, we haven't gotten anything beyond that. The tough nut there is the Steak and Shake's still paying rent.
Sure.
So
Uh,
the motivation is not there from the landowner.
Understand. Also, my other question is the old Tegner property on Euclid Avenue, where there's trucks coming in and out all day long, really messing up the roadway. I mean, what's going to be there? Right now, they're storing old unused equipment, building supplies. It looks like heck as you come into the city from the west.
Yeah, that's the Bellish property that they purchased. Their intention is to build a pre-engineered building. In fact, I think you see some of the structure at the edge of the site. And I think, Tom, they were going to use it for some of their equipment maintenance and distribution. Is that correct?
Yeah, they currently have a building in Wickliffe at their big mountainous site that stores steel and does some steel fabrication work. And they want to build a new building here in Willoughby and also bring that steel company to Willoughby. But they haven't submitted plans for that. They have been allowed to fill the land for leveling it off. So, and we have to keep up on them on keeping that street clean.
Right.
I mean, they do send out a street sweeper on occasion, but all it does is turn the dirt into mud.
No, I agree 100%.
Brian, we'll send Daryl over there or Karen in the next few days. We've made it perfectly clear to Bellish that we expect that site to be kept clean, and we don't see it being used as a kind of materials recycling location or anything like that.
Yeah, because when he's washing down the road, all it's doing is going into the storm sewers, and now city's going to end up cleaning the storm sewers out.
Right. That's right.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks.
Brian.
Looks like a hands up on user again. Hello?
Hi, it's Debbie Bordenero again. What is going on with the former YMCA property, the corner of Shankland and Euclid?
You want to take that one, Bob? Or?
Yeah, sure. A developer, the Summers Group, has an option on the property, and they are currently proposing 2 fast casual restaurants at the corner, right at the corner of Shankland and Euclid, and then townhomes behind it. However, as Tom has mentioned, some of the better, fast casual or fast food restaurants, Swenson's and Raising Cane's, may be committed elsewhere. And we're also told that some of the existing fast casual restaurants, such as Chipotle or Panera, even though they prefer to have drive-throughs, aren't interested in doing any capital investments right now. So they're staying put. So we're waiting now. It has been and is still being considered as a potential site for a future police station, but we're way too early to have that discussion.
Does it have to be a combination of housing and restaurants, or why do the restaurants have to be thrown into it and not just housing?
Well, we would prefer not to have multifamily. It is zoned multifamily, which means apartments could go there. So we thought that a better quality retail would be better than having apartment buildings at the corner. But we're not sure if that's the plan that it's been submitted but tabled. We're not sure if they're going to carry forward with the project or not.
Well, because there's always another issue of increased traffic on Shankland. I mean, I know it's an open-end street. I've lived here for 35 plus years, but projects like that, the increase in traffic is always a concern. But thank you for the info.
You bet.
Hi, Connie. This is Tom. Can you go ahead with your question? No? I guess that was a fake wave. I don't know.
Tom, do you see any others?
Right now, there aren't any.
And Tom, I know that a constituent had called earlier today to talk about the Weston building. Can you give us a brief update on that real quick?
Yeah, there was some concern that the city had provided some tax incentives for the construction of a speculative light industrial building on Jet Center. And for that issue of those incentives, they went ahead and built a $7.5 million, 130,000 square foot light industrial building. And it is not leased out yet. For whatever reasons, we've had plenty of people look at it, and they've chosen other sites. But it still puts us in a better position than neighboring communities that don't have a 130,000 square foot building ready to go. And basically, I'm confident that it's going to get filled. Weston, is, I would say, against the 8 ball at this point, because they're going to start paying taxes on that building, and they'll be getting it filled. We just had a discussion this morning with a high-ranking official from the county who is meeting with an out-of-state company, and he's going to be talking it up for them. They're looking for 150,000 square feet with the ability to expand. The building's 130, but it's clear span inside, so we're hoping that maybe this company will have an interest. So that's the update.
Thanks, Tom. And Connie, I see your mic is active. Did you have something you want to like?
Sure. Quickly, I'm concerned about all the erosion that's happening on the north end. What's happening with SIDS? My neighbors are literally going down for the 3rd time because the lake is still so high. And will the city be doing anything about the erosion at Osborne?
Tom, do you want to talk about the SID?
Well, the SID has been in the works for quite some time. As I've stated to the residents along Beachview, North Beachview and Lakeshore and those areas, we were the first to pass legislation to create a SID. We were the first to join the multi-community SID. I think we were the first to get our petitions in and the first to get our other official petitions in, and it's still not officially created yet, but we are so close. We had a couple cities that were holding out, and until they got on board, we needed the clout of all 13 communities across the map in order to get the financing in place. The lawyers are working with a current local financial institution to provide that. I know many of our residents have already gotten their permits from ODNR to do work. They've gotten quotes from different revetment providers, and hopefully we're in a blink of an eye away from getting this completed, but that's kind of where we are on the shoreline SID.
And Connie, as it relates to Osborne Park, most of the residents who are going to join the SID and do erosion control projects are going to probably install the large rocks that you see there. You see, Euclid used it a lot. East Lakes use it quite a bit. We could certainly do that at Osborne, but the administration thinks we'd be wasting a huge opportunity to reimagine that park and the lakefront. So we've actually enlisted this, we haven't enlisted the services. We have a proposal for a design firm that's pretty well known for coastal rehabilitation and design to create something that's special on Osborne Park that allows our residents to actually approach the water rather than looking at it from about 40 feet ahead on top of it, actually have a way to get down there. Now, I will caution you, Connie, this is going to be an expensive project. We're going to, council and the administration have a lot of discussions about it, but rather than just throw a rock in a hole and stop the erosion, we'd rather throw a rock in a hole and create something special for our residents.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Are there any other questions out there? Are there any other questions?
Okay, thanks, Tom. You know, again, for everybody that's left, I see there's 36 folks still on with us. You see this email address, feel free to use it. And of course, your councilmen are always willing to communicate with you as well. Council and myself, the administration, have really made an effort to be ahead of these projects, to alert our residents when they occur, to be transparent about it. And this is part of that effort. There's nothing that we should hide from you, and we welcome your input. Also, Council President Carr or any of the councilmen present, would you like to add anything to the conversation this evening?
Mayor, I'd like to just chime in and share that if anybody that's still in attendance is interested, go online to the city's website, look for the Planning Commission meeting that's going to be scheduled for this Thursday, where the Maroos Riverwalk project is going to be on the agenda. The Maroos Second Street apartments are on the agenda, as well as a few other things too that they may be interested in. So they can look at those agendas, see if they're really interested. If they want to attend, I invite them to attend.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah,
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Dan or Katie, is there anything you'd like to offer or any comments you'd like to make?
Mayor, I just want to jump in and say one thing too, is, you know, we, at one point in time, we had almost 50 people on the website, I mean, on the Zoom meeting, and that was great. I wish we had 150, but 50 was way better than we may have anticipated. And I think it was great to just offer the residents an opportunity to have a chance to have their voice heard. So
right.
Thanks again for holding this meeting.
You're welcome.
And Mayor, I also want to comment that, you know, this meeting was not meant to be the closure of any of these projects, but to also, you know, introduce these in a way that the residents who are participating, or if there's conversations they have with their neighbors who want to be involved, there's still other opportunities, the planning meeting this Thursday, as well as conversations with City Hall or with your council people. Stay involved. If things come up or you think of things this evening or tomorrow or the next day, please reach out and make sure that your voice is heard.
Thank you, John. Anything from anybody else? Chip and Mike, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a meeting that you did not have to attend. We asked you and you were kind enough to sit through this. So I want to thank you for spending the evening with us tonight.
Well, thank you. I think it was really good to have this meeting and get our project out to the community. We're dedicated to Willoughby. We've been here for 40 years and we want to see Willoughby move forward. So we want to be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, everybody. Hopefully, in the near future, we can actually do this in person, but at least for a short time, any of these meetings are going to be via Zoom. So I appreciate everybody in attendance. We did have 50 people. That's probably more people than we've had at some of the live planning commission meetings. So I want to thank everybody that's still here listening in, and all the councilmen that took an evening off to join us tonight too. So thanks, everybody, and have a great evening.